Hi, I'm Jordan Laurel, and welcome to my show where we make the human experience magical through mental health, mindset, and manifestation. My story is one of radical transformation and rebirth. From depressed, disempowered, and dependent to flourishing within an incredible life I've created, this podcast is me sharing my process of overcoming and creating a magical human experience to help support you as you do the same. Tune in every Monday to feel empowered through stories, wisdom, and lots of super practical tips. Because I am proof you can change your entire life and manifest a life beyond your wildest dreams. Welcome to the Magical Human Experience podcast. Welcome back to the podcast, friends. I am excited because this is the first time I have ever done a solo episode 2 weeks in a row. I used to be a little bit avoidant with solo episodes. I'm not going to lie. I had imposter syndrome. I actually talk about this in my second episode ever with my friend Andy. And it was so funny, but this was one of the things I really wanted to do was just to be really vulnerable and real with what I am and have gone through, and just my processes, my growth, my experiences, my struggles. They're all things that I was like, this is the stuff that has, when other women have been vulnerable with this stuff, has helped me so much in feeling not alone and also feeling like there wasn't something wrong with me. I wasn't crazy. So I've been trying to do that since starting the podcast, and I hope it's been helpful and I've been doing it enough. But that one was a really, really in real time example of me doing that, where I was like 2 episodes in and really struggling with imposter syndrome. And we talk about imposter syndrome because I was like, I'm dealing with this and I want to help you guys know how to navigate it and share what I'm doing to overcome it. So if you want to go all the way back into the archives almost, this is episode 50, by the way. Oh, this is actually so perfect that I'm doing a solo episode. I'm really glad I'm doing a solo episode for episode 50. I feel like that's very appropriate and meaningful. 50 episodes, guys. 50. And it took me so long to start this podcast because of imposter syndrome and because of honestly the same reason why I was avoiding solo episodes and the same reason why I've never done 2 in a row. Like it's taken showing up for myself and seeing myself do it to really build that strong belief in myself that I am capable and I have a lot of value to add and that my best is enough, which is something we're actually going to talk about in this week's episode. So it's really cool seeing it all come full circle. And yeah, just as a little bit of encouragement to anybody out there, well, we're going to talk about this in the episode too. I always do this. I always in the intro start talking about the things I'm going to share in the episode. Obviously I'm clearly passionate about what I was led to talk about today, and am each week. But if you want to start something, if something's on your heart, damn, do I have the evidence to prove it is always a good idea. Always a good idea. I mean, from starting my blog 8 years ago to starting to incorporate mindset and psychology and mental health, to then starting to talk about manifestation, to then starting a podcast, all of it, every single time I feel led to do something and I do it, despite the fear, it is just, I'm so glad. And there's a way, here I go, going off in the intro again, but there's a way, honestly, to be able to discern between anxiety and fear/imposter syndrome. And for me, I consider, and we talked about this a little bit when Aurora Culpo and Kristen Llewell were on the podcast back in January. It's only like 7 or 8 episodes back if you want to watch. But we were talking about how do you know if something is, it's your anxiety, it's your fear, it's your imposter syndrome versus you shouldn't do it. It's your gut. And for me, when it's my gut, I usually don't want to do the thing. Like my body, if I tune into my body, I feel repelled from the thing. It's repulsive to me. I don't want to. I'm going to have to make myself do it. For the other things that are, it's my anxiety or my imposter syndrome or not feeling good enough or just being afraid that's holding me back, the thing itself feels expansive and exciting. Like for the podcast, I wanted to start the podcast. That felt so exciting and expansive to have a podcast and to dive into these topics and help women and share my story and share my learnings. And that felt so exciting and expansive. What was coming up, the fear and the anxiety, all of that was, I don't know if I'm good enough. I don't know if I'll have enough to say or I'll run out of things to say. It was just all of these fear-based thoughts it was my brain trying to protect me, right? Trying to keep me safe, what our brains are supposed to do. Versus, I feel bad, but this is a really real life example. I have a date that I committed to tomorrow night, and I just don't want to go. So I think I'm going to cancel. And maybe that's a little bit of a different example because I'm not like nervous for the date, but I am a little, I'm like, am I going to have a good time? But all those thoughts that are coming up, like, is it going to be boring? Is he going to try to is he going to be nice? Is he going to be respectful? Like all those things. It's when I think about like, do I actually want to do it? I don't really want to go. I'm kind of just like internally like, it's not lighting me up. I feel like it's going to be boring. And I'm telling you guys here, because I was going back and forth all night, like I am going to respectfully cancel the date. And I'm so sad because he was taking me to this, one of the best caviar spots in New York. And I love caviar and I really wanted to go. And he's like really into fine dining. And I really love fine dining. And he seemed really sweet. But I know in my heart it's not aligned and I don't want to do it. And I am working. One of the things that I am really stepping into living out in a powerful way. I've been doing it more and more, but it's felt a little scary, but it's been working out really great every time I do it. It's doing what I want and not doing what I don't want. But again, it's the same thing when it comes to like working out. You know, do I feel like working out all the time? No, but do I want to work out and take care of my body? Yes. So it's like that kind of thing. Like I might not always feel like doing the things I want to do, but they're the things I want to do. And when I do the things I want to do, amazing opportunities just flow into my life. And when I don't do the things that I didn't want to do, I'm usually grateful. When I do the things that I don't want to do, oh man, have I been getting smacked in the face lately when I do things I don't want to do. Lessons have been learned. I usually feel resentful, which if you understand human design, I did an episode with the same friend actually, Andy Eaton Alleman. She used to be a mentor and then became a good friend, and we did a podcast swap, and I had her back on my podcast this January because she was my first ever guest on my second ever episode of the podcast. So I had her as my first guest of this year because she was the first guest of 2023. So special little meaning there having her back on. But she actually is a human design expert, and she explains human design, and it includes astrology, but it includes so much more. And it touches on things like how to make decisions. Like for me, it really is like a gut feeling that I get. For other people, it's called splenic, which is a little weird. But for other people, they are supposed to make decisions based on their feelings. For some people, it's like immediately what you feel. Some people are supposed to sit on it and wait for a day. Some people are supposed to sit for a lunar cycle. It's apparently very, very rare. And, obviously for some decisions, you can't wait 30 days. But it's cool. There's like different, it tells you what the best way to make decisions is for you, for your human design. It also tells you how you best work with others. For me, it's like when I'm invited to support. And I've noticed this, like, things tend to flow a lot better when it's like people are inviting me or interested in working with me versus me pitching them, or not that I don't pitch in business, but it's just wild how things flow and like there's at least some sort of like interest and interaction first. There's also the ways something's off. And for me, it's feeling bitter or resentful, and it is so true. Resentment is my like feeling that comes up when I'm out of alignment. It's usually resent. And it's usually because I tend to be a people pleaser who overgives. There's still a little bit of those patternings that I'm still working on releasing. I actually was being interviewed on somebody else's podcast today, and we were talking about that, and like I should talk about that more on the podcast. Like I really struggled with being a people pleaser. I need to share my story. I'm going to do a full episode sharing my story with you guys. I just wanted to put thought into it and make sure I do it justice and like reflect on everything and think on everything. So I'm going to do that soon. But yeah, people pleasing. I was a doormat. Oh my God. I mean, I couldn't make a decision to save my life. I was a very different person a decade ago, wildly anxious and depressed and dependent and so rooted in anything but myself. And I have so much love and compassion for younger me. She was doing the best she could, but it was to create safety, right? Like I didn't have a lot of safety, especially emotionally growing up. The way I would create that safety for myself was like keeping the peace and pleasing people and my parents. Like I would prevent being hurt and damaged myself when the people around me, especially my parents, were happy. And so it trained me to please people, to create safety for myself, which just ends up really not serving us once we get to be, well, I mean, at any point in our life, but especially as an adult, like that doesn't serve us. It really hurts us and keeps us from living out our purpose, from living out our truth, and also from other people from growing the way they need to. You know, people pleasing and appeasing and fawning, all of that stuff enables, honestly, it enables people to have emotional issues or dependence or just, I don't know, lots of really unhealthy